You know what I think? I think that we're all in our private traps, clamped in them, and none of us can ever get out. We scratch and claw, but only at the air, only at each other. And for all of it, we never budge an inch.
Sometimes we deliberately step into those traps.
I was born in mine. I don't mind it anymore.
Oh, but you should. You should mind it.
Oh, I do. But I say I don't.
We say we don't mind the lives we lead, even believe that we don't. But is that because we instinctively trust in our principles, or have simply been nurtured by our parents to fall in line with the way of life they have led, just as their parents had before them? Is human nature taught to us by our families and friends as we grow and mature, or is it instilled within us from birth, slowly corrupted by the pollution of our traditions and ideals? These are questions raised by the work of Amma Asante, a filmmaker whose body of work is steeped in thematics and subject matter concerned with racial issues, something which she has referred to as being a topic of personal importance and inspiration, fueling her creative career. Her second feature, 2013's Belle, told the story of the biracial daughter of an enslaved African woman and a British Navy captain, and her life growing up in high society against the backdrop of 18th century London, a time and place in history where prejudice and racism crippled the chances of leading a normal life. Belle was followed up by a United Kingdom in 2016, centering on the real-life interracial marriage between Ruth Williams, a white woman from a respectable London family, and Seretse Khama, heir to the South African throne. Disgrace and shame plague the marriage as both the South African and UK governments fear that the controversial pairing may result in civil unrest and tarnish the relationship between the two political forces. Which brings me to Where Hands Touch, Asante's latest project set for release later in 2018. Given the material tackled in her previous works, it's no surprise to find that it too comments on the damage one person can do to another once we let nonsensical morals and acts of hate destroy the community that is mankind. This film takes us back to World War II, and as with a United Kingdom, focuses on a romance flying in the face of ruination, being that between a biracial German girl and a teenage member of the Hitler Youth, who also happens to be the son of a prolific SS officer. And when the first preview of the movie was released, it received a hyperbolic backlash as typical for the internet, and the film was criticised for its romanticising of the Nazis. By showing a member of the Hitler Youth in an appealing rose-tinted light, the Nazis become humanised, something which their abhorrent crimes should not allow. But that mentality should not be applied to this movie, because our main character is not in love with a murderous villain. She loves a boy who was born into a life of which he was given no choice. He is German, he is white, he is the son of an SS officer. He is a Nazi, there is no alternative. Just as there was no alternative to the life his love has led. She is a prisoner, a slave to the concentration camps. But she is also German. Her nationality is as factual as any Nazi's, but the colour of her skin dictates her worth. Both of these people have been born into their own private traps, forbidding their love, stubbing out their human nature for emotional and romantic contact. Their uncontrollable attraction to one another does not falsely paint the Nazis in a romantic light. It reinforces the fact that our instinct tells us to love and embrace beauty as we see it, not as we are told to process it. She was not born with the wrong skin. He was not created evil or superior. They were born into a world which had already decided that was who they were going to be and how they would see each other. They are victims of circumstance. Another filmmaker to use victims of circumstance as a means to comment on the world around them is Taylor Sheridan, who builds oppressive landscapes which mould the lives of the people that populate them. Sicario depicts a nightmarish vision of a Mexico tearing itself apart, where the only way for you to get ahead is drugs or bust. Slum kids born with nothing get rich off the drug trade, who then push the community to the point of dependence on their product, keeping them down while they slaughter each other for dominance over this blood-soaked empire. Even this world's white knights wear armour that is not as shiny as it first appears. At the centre of the film, amidst all the chaos and conspiracy, is a lone cop struggling to survive and raise his son. He represents what little nobility remains in the Mexico slum, doing whatever he can to teach his son right from wrong, terrified that he will be lured into the financially rewarding gangster life looming menacingly over their humble existence. However, this hopeful vignette takes a sharp turn once it is revealed that the cop has been earning money as a drug mule while he saves to buy a better life for his family. A life lived by millions of privileged white people just across the border in the United States of America. Sicarios Mexico condemns its inhabitants to a non-negotiable life of crime because justice has become a relic of a long-forgotten past. Hell or High Water sees two brothers resort to robbing banks in the Texas Midlands. Following the death of their mother, they discover that their family ranch is in danger of foreclosure due to the reverse mortgage the bank had placed on the property, resulting in the brothers drowning in debt. The robberies serve as a form of revenge for dropping them in financial crisis, cleverly making the repayment with the bank's own money. But it is also the only path for them to take if they are to round up enough cash to repay the debt. It is a film about being stranded in a town that edges closer to total desertion with each passing day. Only a handful of businesses still stand following a Great Depression. The townsfolk have dwindled down to the last few who are either too old to leave their home or too tired to care. Even the police force appear to be in a constant dejected stasis, as though their presence, like everyone else's, has grown redundant. The explosive pursuit of the brothers sees the sheriff indulge in some action reminiscent of the good old days, but once it's all over, it's back to the slog of watching over a town that the rest of the world has turned its back on. As a society, we have rules to follow and a certain behaviour to uphold. Hell or High Water asks what the point is in being decent when no one knows you exist and you've been left behind with nothing. The final chapter of what Taylor Sheridan himself calls the trilogy of the American frontier is Wind River. And as with both its predecessors, it examines the effects of a harsh surrounding on its people. And in the case of Wind River, it is the blistering cold and numbing isolation which plagues the body and mind. The weather in mountainous terrain has a profound impact on each and every character. The mystery begins once the body of a Cherokee girl is found on the snow-covered Native American reserve known as Wind River. Although evidence suggests an assault took place, it was not a man who took her life, but the 6-mile barefoot trek she had to make in order to escape her attacker. The sub-zero air caused her lungs to freeze and hemorrhage before her subsequent death, and the reason for this repulsive act of sexual violence boils down to repression. After tracing the perpetrators back to a remote drilling station, a white-knuckle shootout erupts, leaving only one man left to tell the tale. During his confession, he talks about the incessant boredom this environment breeds. All there is snow, lonely men, and alcohol. Add a woman to the mix, and dangerous results are produced. But despite the horrific crimes on display in Wind River, the most frightening event in the film comes with its closing statement, highlighting the fact that the FBI compiles missing person statistics for every demographic with the exception for Native American women. Given the fact that Sheridan was motivated to write the script based on thousands of actual stories just like it, that's a lot of potential bodies still lying in the maddening snows of Wyoming. Films like the work of Amma Asante and Taylor Sheridan ask us to look at one another on the level beneath the skin. Our wants, our needs, our personalities, for they quietly represent our true self, an inner voice. Alas, this hush-toned beauty is drowned out by insults to our class, colour, our family crest, or country of origin. Do you belong to the religion that will make me want to talk to you? Do you have the right number of figures in your bank account to make your company worthwhile? All these questions, accusations, and assumptions, they have become the loudest voices of all. You're you and I'm me. We'll never be the same or see eye to eye. How could we? Why should we? It's not like we owe each other a thing. You don't get my life and I don't care much about yours, so let's just leave it at that. Our minds are made up. We'll stay the same. Always at odds for the sake of our differences. The point where our hands fail to touch. Set to remain victims of circumstance.